Hey there guys, Jordan Sather here, February 19th. It's good to be back, and in this one we're going to be talking about vaccines. Now I've had this video cooking in the oven for a while. About a week and a half ago I went to watch the House Bill 1638 hearings here in Washington State. This is the House bill to remove all vaccine exemptions for the MMR vaccines. I went to watch this hearing and I participated in the rally afterwards. I'll show you some footage from that and talk to you about what really went on there. But I also saw a lot of propaganda blowing up in the mainstream media over the last week. We've seen a lot of attacks. They're attacking Facebook groups. They're attacking even the wife of an individual that works in the White House for sharing vaccine information on her Twitter. A lot of attacks I want to talk to you about, and a lot of promotion of their rhetorical disinformation on vaccines. They're trying to sell vaccines to you. They're trying to scare you into accepting vaccine propaganda, and they're what looks like fabricating stories as well. There's a story going around about a teen supposedly fact-checking his anti-vax mom, but there's glaringly obvious holes in this story. There's questionable connections, things that aren't adding up. I'll show you those questionable connections here. So we got a lot to talk about in regards to vaccines. It's going to be an information-packed video, but I think you'll really like it. So let's get started. Okay guys, so first of all, like I said, I went and watched the hearings for House Bill 1638 here in Washington State on February 8th. And I'm going to reference CBSnews.com here because CBS was the only mainstream outlet to cover the hearings and to cover the rally afterwards. And like we would expect from the mainstream media, rhetorical propaganda nonsense here. They're trying to scare you, talking about measles. They're trying to tell you that vaccines are safe and effective and measles is so contagious, and the reason that measles is spreading is because we're not getting vaccinated, etc., etc., etc. So there was no fair coverage in the mainstream media, even in the local media here in Washington State, about these hearings. So I'm going to tell you what really happened. So what really happened is that these were very early morning hearings, first hearings in the morning there at 8 a.m. And 8 a.m., it was like 30 degrees out. Some estimates put it at even 2,000 people. 2,000 people still showed up to watch these hearings and to rally afterwards. So there was a huge support against this bill. There was a huge amount of people there protesting this. The fact that the Washington State wants to remove vaccine exemptions. So because there were so many people there, I and many others could not get into the main chamber where they were holding the hearings, so we had to fill multiple overflow rooms. So I had to watch it from an overflow room on a projector, but it was ridiculous. It was ridiculous how the state legislature treated this whole hearing. So they had multiple panels. There were probably about 6 to 7 both presenters against the bill and for the bill, basically anti-vaxxers and pro-vaxxers, if you want to call it that. And there was a huge bias for the pro-vaxxers and against the anti-vaxxers. All the pro-vaxxers, you had your, standard Clark County official, you had your standard board certified big pharma doctors, again, all espouting the same rhetoric, the same fear, the same illogical disinformation. Fear-based, emotional-based disinformation, not logical. The anti-vaxxers, oh my gosh. I'll even link you some of their statements down below from this. On the anti-vax panels, we had Robert F. Kennedy Jr., we had Dr. Tony Bark, we had Dr. Brian Hooker, and there was a few other people as well. And their arguments were full of statistics, it was full of science, it was full of logic.
My name is Dr. Tony Bark. I'm a licensed MD in the state of Illinois. I trained in pediatrics and rehab medicine, and I ran an emergency room, pediatric emergency room in the inner city. And during that time, I witnessed several children, after being in the vaccine clinic, coming to the emergency room in status epilepticus with asthma.
And it was full of passion as well, and they weren't given the light of day. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., he was cut off early from his speech. He was getting passionate into it, talking about how vaccines injure children, and they're really not all that safe or effective. They cut him off early. There was supposed to be another panel of people opposing this bill, anti-vaxxers, essentially, and they didn't let that panel present. So there was a huge bias for the pro-vaxxers, okay? So the hearing was fairly ridiculous. But the good part was seeing the rally and experiencing the rally afterwards. So like I said, there was some estimates put it at 2,000 people there rallying against this bill, okay? And Robert F. Kennedy Jr. spoke to the crowd. There was a Washington State representative as well that spoke to the crowd. You know, thankfully seeing a politician who's courageous enough to speak out about this. He was talking about vaccine injury and how vaccines, you know, in this country, we literally have a separate court system for people who are vaccine injured, and it's paid out billions and billions of dollars in the last 20 or 30 years to people who have been injured by vaccines. Keep in mind, it's very tough to get money from this court as well. So the fact that it's paid out billions of dollars to people who have been injured by vaccines, truly, are vaccines really safe, like they say? Are they effective, like they say?
You know, I've been having these conversations and they're saying, hey, seriously, vaccines are safe. Vaccines are safe, and my response to that is, how many other things have paid out $4 billion because they've injured people? Name one. Name one.
So the rally afterwards was fantastic to be there and see the support that people have for each other and the emotion and the passion they have against mandatory vaccinations, against, you know, medical tyranny, and for informed consent. And update on this House bill, it was recently passed. The committee in the Washington State Legislature, the Health and Wellness Committee, passed this with a 10-5 vote, and now it's going on to a full House vote. And this week, there will be an actual march in Olympia, Washington there, same place where that rally and they held the House bill hearings. Now, since it's moving on to the Senate, there is a march plan. So I plan to go to that march. I plan to document exactly what's going on the ground, do, of course, the citizen journalism for you guys. I'll let you know how the Senate hearing happens, and I will get some interviews. I'll just get some interviews there at the march that happens and show you guys what's really going on here in Washington State with the vaccine nonsense, because this is really one of the epicenters of what's going on in the country now with vaccines, of course, with the supposed outbreak occurring here. But now moving on, I want to talk to you about a lot of the propaganda that we've seen in the mainstream media about vaccine over the last week. So first of all, of course, it's the Russians. Here we have the Independent, literally today. Again, it's like every day we get more mainstream media articles about anti-vaccination propaganda. This one here by the Independent, they're saying Russian propaganda may have helped make Clark County one of the nation's anti-vaccination hotspots. Russian propaganda. I can guarantee you, in talking and learning about the anti-vaccine community and getting involved in it, I have literally not met one Russian. Not one Russian, no Russian propaganda. That's just the BS. Of course, it's always the Russians, no matter what it is. Russians ate your homework, right? So not just that, but they are attacking people, groups as well. So check out this letter from Adam Schiff. Yes, that Adam Schiff, representative out of California. On Valentine's Day, he sent a letter, open letter, to Mark Zuckerberg, calling on Zuckerberg to suppress the anti-vaccination information that gets shared on Facebook. And Adam Schiff is talking about all the same rhetorical nonsense here, calling unfounded, debunked theories. In fact, the World Health Organization listed vaccine hesitancy, the reluctance or refusal to vaccinate, as one of the top health threats in 2019. World Health Organization? You mean the World Health Organization started by the Rockefellers with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation like this with them? Yeah, come on. You can connect the dots there. So Adam Schiff literally calling for fascism here, calling for Facebook to censor and suppress truthful information that's getting shared around. They're scared. They're very scared of people waking up. And when it comes to vaccines, vaccines is one of those most hardcore red pills there is. That's why there's so many attacks against vaccine information and people who talk about the truth about vaccines. So Adam Schiff calling for Facebook to censor. In the mainstream media, they're also calling for Facebook to censor. thinkprogress.org, John Podesta connected right here. Are we going to trust really any information with John Podesta's fingerprints on it. So thinkprogress.org here says, deliberate disinformation is behind a massive measles outbreak in Washington. Facebook has been facing calls to crack down on anti-vax groups. And these articles were from about a week ago. This was from February 13th. Schiff's letter was from the 14th. Remember that, okay? This was from a week ago. Check out what came out just a few days ago. So they were almost programming. They were setting up the whole game right here. And in BuzzFeed on the 16th, 15th and 16th, it says, here's how one of Facebook's biggest anti-vax communities built its massive network. And this whole article is about Stop Mandatory Vaccination, which is a Facebook group that I'm in. Has about 150,000 people in it, give or take. And it's a great group. A lot of holistic health information, natural health information, truthful information gets shared on there. So here the mainstream media is literally naming names. They're going on the attack. And just as Q let us know, in terms of Q followers, the mainstream media is really going to target names. They're going to target accounts who have a high follower list because they want the mobs. They want to basically direct the attacks on these large accounts to shut them up. So that's what Q said in regards to, I think, that drop that had my name in it. And we're saying the same thing go on with anti-vax sentiment here as well. So BuzzFeed, The Guardian, these mainstream media news organizations are targeting Facebook groups here, trying to get them removed, okay? And we even have politicians trying to get Facebook to remove groups as well because money talks. They're paid by big pharma. They're just shilling for the deep state, whatever the case is. Let's talk about shilling for the deep state. I've seen a lot of Twitter personalities, a lot of blue check marks on Twitter over the last week or two share a lot of pro-vaccine information as well. And these are people who claim to be against the deep state and they claim to be for truth and for whatever the case is on Twitter. You know, they claim to be alternative journalists, but they are, again, whether they're being useful idiots or whether they're being conscious deceivers, they're spreading literal deep state propaganda. It's like people are having a tough time connecting dots between big pharma and the deep state and the whole history of it all and the truth of it all. So I don't know. Like I said, it's one of the bigger red pills out there to swallow, but it's necessary, okay? Connects to everything else going on. So we talked about the Russians. We talked about attacking Facebook groups. Let's talk about one more mainstream media attack before we get on to that teen fact-checking his anti-vax mom story. So, okay, mainstream media attacking Facebook groups. They're also attacking individuals. So CNN here writing, the wife of White House communications director pushes false anti-vaccination claims. And that woman's name is Darla Shine. So on Twitter, she was sharing tweets saying, I had the measles, mumps, chickenpox as a child, and so did every kid I knew. Sadly, my kids had MMR, so they will never have the lifelong natural immunity I have. Come breathe on me. So the woman here is actually using logic, and she is not delving into the fear porn propaganda. She's basically saying, my immune system's good because I had these diseases as a child. And people who get vaccinated, they don't build lifelong immunities. Vaccines are not safe nor effective. She's talking truth here. But just because her husband works for the White House, works for Donald Trump, boom, CNN lighting her up. So many other news organizations are lighting her up and completely making this political. Sad to see. Sad to see them shill for the deep state, shill for big pharma, spread disinformation, and attack a poor innocent woman who's just trying to share the truth. So there we go. Mainstream media, they're attacking Facebook groups, they're attacking individuals. Really, they're attacking the truth, as you know. And if you're somebody who just talks about the truth to an audience, well, they're going to attack you too. You're just in the way of their agenda. So lots of mainstream media attacks. Now let's get into that teen supposedly fact-checking his anti-vax mom story. So here it is, again, coming from CNN. CNN and the Washington Post are really two of those organizations leading the way with a lot of these attacks against, well, not just vaccinations, but of course conspiracy theories, truthful topics in general that they want to keep suppressed. But this story is about a teen. His name is Ethan Lindenberger, and supposedly he grew up in a family where his mom was anti-vax, and he just turned 18, and he just went on Reddit after turning 18 and asked Reddit, well, basically said, I think my mom's crazy. I support vaccines. I want to know what vaccines to get. So Reddit, what do you think vaccines I should get? And he went and got vaccinated for he got his flu shot, got his MMR, a bunch of different things upon turning 18. That is the story. Now, in watching the interviews, in delving into this story, obvious questions arise, and it just sounds like it's something completely fabricated. Number one, Ethan and his anti-vax mom, who's allegedly his mom, named Jill Wheeler, they've been doing interviews with the mainstream media everywhere, okay? Multiple interviews all across the mainstream media. Let me tell you, if you are an anti-vax parent, and pretty much 100% of anti-vax parents out there can attest for this, if you're an anti-vax parent and your child turns 18 and decides to get vaccinated, you're not going to gladly go on to the mainstream media and go, yeah, I support his decision. I disagree, but I'd support his decision. That's not going to happen. There's going to be some probably familial turmoil going on, and you're not just going to go happily onto the mainstream media and do an interview. Not just that, but the mainstream media is promoting this about an adult now. You know, he just turned 18. He's an adult now. An adult going on to Reddit and getting medical advice from Reddit. You see, would that ever happen? Why aren't they promoting going to your doctor and getting medical advice? It's very flimsy. It's as if they're trying to sell the idea that the millennial generation should go onto Reddit, onto these controlled social media platforms and get their information there. You see? They're really trying to get into the subconscious of individuals here. They're not doing this for the benefit of society. They're trying to brainwash the public here. And not just that, but the mother in this story, Jill Wheeler, she has theater connections. She used to be a drama teacher. This kid, Ethan Lindenberger, he's a social media strategist. Are they even related? I don't know that. And with the mother being a drama teacher and having theater connections, it's like, are they actors? Were they paid to do this? We know how much fake news the mainstream media fabricates, how they just pay actors to do whatever the heck. Is this the case here? And last but not least, let's look into those shady connections behind this story. So the very first news outlet to publish this story is a website called undark.org. You can see there, undark, truth, beauty, and science. Oh yeah, they're really for science, right? But on the 6th, they actually originally published this story on the 6th of February. It says here, coming of age unvaccinated. And it goes on to this whole story about Ethan Lindenberger wanting to get vaccinated, fact-checking his anti-vax mom, blah, 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 if this story is even real. Now, here's the thing. Undark.org is a news outlet that is published by the Knight Foundation, the John and James Knight Foundation. John and James Knight were some newspaper publishers. I think a few decades ago, they set up a nonprofit organization in their foundation here to invest into journalism around the country. So the Knight Foundation puts a lot of money into journalism. Of course, mainstream journalism. Because the John and James Knight Foundation partners with the CDC. Wow, you can see here right at the top of the second column of this list, it says here, John and James Knight Foundation, CDC partners. Not really that far away from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. You see all the other foundations that partner with the CDC on this. But, wow. So, the news outlet that put this out is owned by the Knight Foundation, which partners with the CDC. So are we really going to expect them to be putting out unbiased information about vaccines, truthful information about vaccines? I would highly doubt it. And not just that, just Google CDC corruption. You don't need to go to DuckDuckGo and try to get unbiased search results. You can even search biased ask Google CDC corruption. You'll still come up with a lot of articles, a lot of information on CDC corruption, how terrible it is. Are we going to trust the CDC, right? Are we going to trust the mainstream media, deep state connected, ties to big pharma, all of this? Are we going to trust Adam Schiff? Are we going to trust Facebook to censor what they should be censoring? No, we're not. So there you go, guys. There's a lot of information, a lot of background behind these stories I just shared with you guys, but it's very, very important. This vaccine topic, like I've been saying, it's one of the biggest red pills out there. And when people come to terms with vaccines, how, wow, our modern medicine system has been compromised and the pharmaceutical industry has been compromised. The mainstream media is doing the bidding of the pharmaceutical industry just like they do the bidding of so many other, of course, industries, the whole deep state in general. And vaccines really aren't all that safe or effective. I mean, this topic just stems out into so much. You get to learn about the history, about Big Pharma, about how to really take care of your body. And like I said, part 2 of this video that I'm going to do in a couple of days, I'm going to do a lot more information on the science behind vaccines, less on the propaganda we're seeing in the mainstream media, and a lot more actionable information that you can use to share with your friends and family, actual science behind vaccines. So just for a tidbit now, if you want to go do some more research, go look into the truth about vaccines. I'll link the YouTube channel below. Might even make a little card pop up, but it's a YouTube channel and docu-series created by Ty Bollinger. He also created the Truth About Cancer docu-series. He did one called The Truth About Vaccines. Great docu-series, great YouTube channel with a lot of little snippets and even a full episode about vaccines. I'll put up a screenshot of a meme that I found that has 24 different vaccine truth documentaries on it. You can pause the video, write down some movies from that list, and go watch them yourself. But in a couple of days, I'll be putting up part 2 to this video where I'll be talking to some individuals and sharing my information, my research into the science and the truth about vaccines, how they're really not safe and effective, and how you can have that information on hand, share with your friends and family, and also use that information to protect yourself. So thanks for watching, guys. It's good to be back. I'll be putting out a lot more content this week and in the very near future. Thank you for watching. Done.